Good morning, Knicks Nation. Oh, yes, still morning. Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Friday, the 19th day of May, 2023. Happy Friday to you. I hope that you are well and your family safe and healthy on this Friday, and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field who, along with the first responders, are out here every day saving human lives. And those that pick up garbage for us to keep our streets, sidewalks, places clean and disease-free, along with those that sometimes even risk their lives to get us deliveries of things that we take for granted, like food and water and mail. Double blessings on the men and women that are out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover the teenagers and the children that are the unfortunate victims of child molestation and pedophilia. The victims also of pornography and child pornography, prostitution, child prostitution, as well as human trafficking and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators of these things. Double curses on those who profit from these things. And double curses on the perverts that create the demand for these things, upon which the other greedy perverts create the supply. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and mostly children are homeless in the United States today, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Okay, today we're going to be discussing, as the weeks go on, and you all who have been in Knicks Nation even a little while will understand that this is the time of year, it's what I call crazy season, because at this time of year, all kinds of rumors come out about all kinds of players coming to the Knicks. And generally, if you actually follow the origins of these rumors, you can pretty much discount those platforms. That's what I do. I don't listen to them after that because they've already proven themselves to be just hype mongers and clickbait. Okay? And so I pay attention to where it comes from, because then later on, when somebody says, this platform said this player was coming to you, I already know. Forget it. Don't even bother with it, because they just want you to click. Okay? And they use the New York Knicks more than any other professional basketball team for these rumors. There's no other team in the NBA that creates the clicks on false rumors that the Knicks do. Okay? And so most of them, 90% of them, you could just discount and forget about. How I have learned, this is how I have learned to discount most of the rumors. I ask, and I suggest my suggestion to you as my listener. You look at it this way. Why would the other team do a deal with the Knicks? You have to think of yourself if you were them. What is your goal? And why would you make a deal with New York? Now, it doesn't always follow that logically, although nowadays that logic is becoming more and more tighter because of how much parity there is in the NBA. There's more parity in the NBA right now than I've seen in a long time. I can't even remember. Probably in the 70s was the last time this type of parity existed. But it's really a lot of parity where you see an 8th seed Miami Heat battling the Celtics. You see a 7th seed Los Angeles Lakers battling the Denver Nuggets. So that alone is telling you there's possibilities, and everybody is evening up with everybody else, and just a few things separate teams. So if you ask yourself, why would a team do a deal, right, with the Knicks? Like, for example, some people have, and again, some of your guys take this stuff really personally when I mention some of these things, because you suggested to me. I don't know all of your names. Some of y'all I know, like my brother Malik. Some of y'all I know from just because you guys are always coming and I'm having good conversation with y'all. So I remember some of y'all I know because you're like a hemorrhoid and it's like a pain when I see you coming. But most of y'all I don't know, okay? And the hemorrhoids don't last long. They end up putting themselves in a hole and then catching that third rail. So even their lives are short-lived sometimes. But some of y'all be acting like, why you say that about me? And I'll be like, I don't remember who you are, bro. It's not like I was trying to say. So don't take this mess too personally, okay? But some people have mentioned, for example, let's trade for Austin Reeves or Jared Vanderbilt from the Lakers or Rui Hachimura. And you're saying, these are good players. The Knicks should want them. Well, there's one thing you need to understand. And again, let's take it from, why would the Lakers do that? Austin Reeves, Jared Vanderbilt, and Rui Hachimura have all been extremely instrumental in getting them to the Western Conference Finals. Why would they trade those guys? Why would they bother moving them? They wouldn't. They got them all on cheap contracts. So what they're going to do is re-sign them. So for us to talk about or waste energy talking about possible trade scenarios regarding them is really a waste of time. Okay, y'all understand? Because the Lakers wouldn't be giving those guys up. They're going to keep those guys. Hachimura has really, found his rhythm, found himself in LA. And I think playing with LeBron has helped a lot in his development. He was struggling in Washington, struggling mentally as well as on the floor. But here, he seemed to have found his stride. Why would he want to leave Los Angeles? You understand? So that's what I'm saying. When you're looking at players as possible trades for the Knicks, you have to ask yourself, why would the other team do that? Why would they? Because a lot of times you guys are asking about players that ain't going nowhere because the team is not going to let them go. Okay? There's no reason to let go of a cheap contract like a Reeves or Vanderbilt, who they traded for. And then they found Reeves. And then, of course, now they traded for Hachimura, a nice young piece. So they're not going to give that up. These guys, at the very least, are foundations that they can continue to develop and build on after the LeBron era. But while LeBron is here they are in the Western Conference Finals. Okay? So that's what I want y'all to think about when you're thinking about trades. So, for example, I mentioned 4 players, and listen to me now. 4 players I mentioned that I think the Knicks have a shot at. And that means 50-50. Every time I say shot, there's no slam dunk. It's 50-50. Slam dunk is like when Jalen Brunson's father comes to the Knicks, and then Jalen Brunson's a free agent, and he hasn't signed with Dallas. Well, I kind of know what's going to happen, right? That's not hard, but that's very rare. So everybody's really 50-50 because a player could change their mind, a team could change their mind, anything could happen. So why would, for example, I mentioned Kristaps Porzingis? Some of you say he's too injury prone or whatever. Okay, you can think what you want. I think he makes the Knicks Eastern Conference Finals, okay, with just removing Julius Randle and replacing KP and then giving Obi those minutes between him and KP at the 4. To me, the Knicks are Eastern Conference Finals contenders, just that. But the question I'm talking about, that I'm posing, is why would Washington allow that? Well, we have to understand, Washington might not have a choice. Because if Kristaps Porzingis opts out of his deal, which he has the right to do in July 1st or before, he can opt out of his last year of his $33 million contract, he becomes an unrestricted free agent. And Washington can lose him for nothing. So it's really on how nice does KP want to be. He can decide to re-sign with Washington. But what I'm saying is, it's 50-50. Okay? It's 50-50. So the Knicks have a shot in that scenario. Okay? Why would, for example, Jeremy Grant be available? Because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Now, he might want to go back and re-sign with Portland. And let's run that band back with Dame Dollar. He might want to do that. But until he does, he's unrestricted. So it's 50-50. Follow me? Then we mentioned Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby. Why? Because Masai Ujiri has already dangled them in trade talks for the last 2 seasons. This particular season that we just passed, Toronto stunk. Now, they stunk for various reasons, but they disappointed, including myself. I expected them to be much better than they were. They were 41-41. Okay, they were 41-41, 10th place in the East. They went and got Jacob Polo, which I felt was their missing piece. They needed a 5 spot. They needed a 5, okay? And that's why they to me, they started getting better at the end of the season because of that. But now they fired their coach, okay? The core, it may be time for them to break it up and start over, all right? It may be time for them to do that. Now, if they are thinking about that, and again, so when you combine these factors that those 2 players have been mentioned in trade talks for the last 2 years from credible sources, like the 3 wise men, then you got to say, okay, they stunk this year. They underperformed. What are they going to do going forward? They may decide to cash in Siakam, and OG may want to leave, and that's why you're looking at those 2 guys, okay? Or even a Fred VanVleet, okay? I'm not saying we're interested in him, but I'm saying I like him as a player. I'm not saying the Knicks, he's not a Knicks guy, but that's why you would look at those guys, because of that, the possibilities of them having been dangled before, of the Toronto Raptors really underperforming this year, and now they have a choice. They have to decide. They're going to rebuild this thing around Scotty Barnes. You know, they could do that. Rebuild this thing around Scotty Barnes and move forward. Get draft capital, draft assets, and move forward. See, so that's how I look at trade possibilities. So if you're bringing up players that are not available, right, and the team has no reason to move these guys, then I'm sitting there saying, like, okay, well, why are we talking about them? Right? Why are we even discussing them? Okay, so that's how I'm looking at it. So Toronto, for example, they got the 13th pick this year. That's a pretty, it's a decent player, and it's good. It's a lottery player. So they may decide to try to rebuild around Scotty Barnes. He's their young star. He's going to be in his third season. He's probably going to be like 21, 22. Could rebuild around him. You might want to keep OG because he's 25. In that scenario, Siakam might be the odd man out. Okay, because he's got the big salary. You got the changes coming to the CBA next season, which teams with guys with big salaries is going to be harder to move those guys. So if you're going to move them, if you're going to decide they're not part of your future, you want to trade them this summer. Siakam is such a one. And if OG wants to move, because there's another reason he's been involved in the trade talks a lot, maybe he wants to leave, then you might want to acquire there. So those, again, 50-50. And both of those cats got 1 year left on their deals. So you got 50-50 again. Okay, because they're expiring money this year. Okay, so today, with that in mind, I would like to discuss Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns. Why are we talking about Karl Anthony Towns? Well, first off, Minnesota, this past season, Minnesota finished in the 8th seed, okay? They went and traded away a lot of assets to get Rudy Gobert, and it did not work out as they expected. And what happened, I was looking at Cat, right? I was looking at his numbers on Basketball Reference. What I look at, a couple things I look at. I look at the on-off, on the court, off the court, to see how he affects the team while he's on the court and how he affects the team when he's off the court. Like, in other words, does he add to the team when he's on the court? And what does the team decline when he's off the court? That's, those are the type of things. And I looked at, like, for example, this past season with Karl Anthony Towns, during the regular season, if you look at his on-off numbers for the regular season, the team was 1.4 points better when he was on the floor and almost 8 points worse when he was off the floor. So he had a positive impact, but you wouldn't say it was a strong one. But this is the first year he's really playing with Gobert. So I looked at him last year and said, okay, let's look at his numbers last year without Gobert. The team was 6.3 better with him on the floor and 12 better in the playoffs with him on the floor. And it just so happens last year he was playing, not this past season, but the 21-22, he's playing the 5, but now he's got to play next to Gobert. And actually it didn't work out as well as they thought it was going to. Sometimes the Twin Towers works, like in the case of Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon, and sometimes it doesn't work, like in the case of Patrick Ewing and Bill Cartwright. See, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, depending on the two guys you're talking about. In this particular case, it didn't. And looking at Cat, he's, to me, based on the numbers, not just I looked at this year, last year, the year before that, he's better at the 5 spot. He's better being a 5, a stretch 5. For you stretch people that, you favorite stretch guys out there. He's better being a stretch 5. So why would the Minnesota Timberwolves want to deal Karl Anthony Towns? Like, what is the purpose of them sending him out? Like, why would they get rid of Karl Anthony Towns? Okay, well, right now, Karl Anthony Towns, and again, keeping the CBA in mind, Karl Anthony Towns is 27 years old right now. He'll be 28 next season. So he's in his prime. But your star players, the guys that you want to build around, are 21-year-old Anthony Edwards and 22-year-old McDaniels. That's the guys you want to build around, because if you're talking about a timeline, they're on different timelines. Karl Anthony Towns' timeline is now. And McDaniels, 3 years from now. Okay? So they're on different timelines. And you want to have, if you're Minnesota, you want to have flexibility to add young talent. Especially after you gave away a lot to get Gobert. You can't, if you're not going to win with him, you really don't have a lot of choice. So what you want to do is try to recoup assets that you lost in getting him. How you going to do that? You got to use one of your most valuable assets to get stuff. You got to bring some to get some. So, with that in mind, Karl Anthony Towns, right now, if you're looking at his salary, let's take a look at his salary. For Karl Anthony Towns, it's onerous. I mean, it is. It's onerous. Like Karl Anthony Towns' salary. Let me see here. I'll tell you right now. Hang on. Let me find homie's money. He's getting about $36 million this year, and his salary increases. He gets $36 million this year, $49 million, 24-25, $53 million, 25-26. Listen up. In 23-24, he gets 36. 24-25, he gets 49. 49. That means his salary goes up by like 30%. Then the following year, 25-26, 53. And then after that, 57. And then 61. That's his salary for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. He's 27 now. So in his age 28 year, he's getting 36. This is guaranteed money. He's getting 36 million. Okay, 36 million. In November, he's going to be 28. 36 million. When he's 29, 49 million. When he's 30, 53 million. When he's 31, 57 million. And when he's 32, 61 million. That's why Minnesota would want to move him now. You can trade that for a smaller salary, Julius Randle, shorter period, Julius Randle, and assets, draft capital, maybe 3 number ones and a protected number one. Now, why would the Knicks do it? Why would the Knicks do it? If we can trade Karl Anthony Towns, this would be the year to do it. You can trade him straight up. There's enough of a closeness in the salary between Julius and Cat that you can get this done. Why would you do it? You start Cat at the 5. You bring Mitch Rob off the bench for Cat. You just upgraded your starting unit and your bench unit. You start Obi at the 4. Now, they're not trading McDaniels for the reasons I told you. He's part of the cornerstone of the future. So forget Daniels. He's not going nowhere like Jared Vanderbilt ain't going nowhere. But you can find a 4 in the mold of, I'm not saying this particular guy, but in the mold of Dorian Finney-Smith. You can get somebody in that mold that could be a solid dude, not a star, but a solid dude coming off your bench at the 4. And so you start Obi, Cat, RJ, Grimes, and Brunson. Cat has never had a point guard like Brunson. He had D'Angelo Russell, but to me, D'Angelo Russell's a tier down, at least from Brunson. He's a tier down. He's not Brunson. Brunson is head and shoulders better, period. Okay, so he's never had that. So you can't double Cat. This is a possibility. Again, I'm telling you, it's 50-50. Okay, because again, if I'm Minnesota, I don't know if I want 2 years from now, when now my youngins is 24 and 23, maybe not ready for prime time yet, and I got this dude here at 30, 31, 30, and I'm paying him $53 million. I'm saying I want to move him this summer. get and the assets they gave up to get Gobert that Danny Ainge fleeced them on, they can get at least 3 number ones back. And now you clear cap space because Juju is really, you got Juju for 3 more seasons at about $30 million. If we needed to put Hartenstein in there, which we might, now you got the salary match and Hartenstein expires. So if I'm Minnesota, I'm getting expiring money. I'm getting an all-NBA power forward in place of Karl Anthony Towns that might be able to play with Gobert better than Towns. And I still got my youngins and I got more draft capital to go for it. That's why Minnesota would do it. See? Why would the Knicks do it? Karl Anthony Towns, if he goes back to being the 5, when he was the 5, as I said, when he was the 5, plus 12, you know, double digits plus both in the playoffs and in the regular season. We know he shoots 37% from 3. Well, for the career, he's 40% from 3, 84% from the line, 52% from 2, 11 boards a game, 23 points a game. You know what I'm saying? Top 4 in the East. ECF possibilities now. Okay? ECF possibilities. That's what we're talking about. We're in that. See, being a long-term sustainable winner, Knicks Nation, again, what I said, part of that cachet is that every season now, when they talk about playoff contenders, your name is in there. See, every season, you got to mention Miami Heat, no matter what they got, because they're the Miami Heat. They got the culture, they got the coach, they got the staff, they got the front office, and they got enough in Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, and a whole bunch of no names, and Bam, that they know how to squeeze it. You got to mention them. Every year, you got to mention Boston. Every year, you got to mention Milwaukee. Well, we make this deal. Every year, you got to mention the Knicks. Yes, it's a lot of money, no doubt. But you're getting this cat in his prime. Just in time for Jalen Brunson's prime. Just in time when Obi's about a year from his prime. Just in time. Okay? And you still got puppies in Q-Dog and RJ. That's fine. We can work with that. Especially now, you got Mitch Robb on your bench with Josh Hart, Deuce McBride, Manuel Quickly. You ready to roll. And then if you add that next power forward, you're ready to go. Okay? You're ready to go. All right? So that's why I had to think about this and look at it because Karl Anthony Towns hurt me in being so soft, in the playoffs. But I had to examine this closely. I didn't want to just make a flippant judgment call on him. Sometimes I could do that if it's very blatant to me. But in his case, I had to look closer because he's just too much talent to just look. You got to look a little closer and see what's there, right? So when I did, I said, okay, I think this will work. Work for Minnesota and work for the Knicks. That's how I try to think about, again, these things. Why would they do it and why would the Knicks do it? This is why. Okay? This is why. Like, for example, the Nets with Mikal Bridges. I say that's not even 50-50 because if I'm the Nets, why would I do that? I just traded KD to get this guy. And he's proven to be a go-to scorer. We already know he's an all-NBA level defender. So I'm not trading him. I'm building around him. Mikal Bridges might be 25. I'm building around him. See? So that's what I'm saying. It's very unlikely that, especially trade him to the Knicks, very unlikely. Okay? Even for Julius Randle. I don't think that would happen. So that's why I look at stuff the way I do. So I'm talking about really KP, he could be unrestricted. Jeremy Grant, who could be unrestricted. Siakam and OG, who have been dangled before and their team sucked this year and they may be looking to blow it up. And then Karl Anthony Towns, who's making too much money and his timeline does not fit Anthony Edwards and Jalen McDaniels. It doesn't fit. And they just gave up too much assets and this didn't work. So now, what are you going to do? You're going to keep trying to plug with this? It doesn't work? Or recoup some of your assets before the new contract comes in and you can get that and you could try to rebuild around your 2 youngins that you know could be studs. Pretty simple, I think. So as far as assets, as far as draft assets and talent, there's no other team that could beat the Knicks. Not contending. Not contending team. Ain't no contending team can beat the Knicks. We got all that. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Steve Mills. We got all of that. Thank you, Mr. Perry. We got all that. So we could do you. and you could do us. See? So to me, and I have to, and not only that, I mean, some people were asking this question, which I find a little silly. Where you going to replace Julius Randle's 25 and 10? I told y'all, just the increased output from ball movement. From when you combine Grimes, RJ's going to play better without Julius than he does with Julius. And then, of course, you're giving Obi more minutes. And I believe in Obi Toppin's ability to be an all-star NBA player. To me, he's got that kind of talent. I'm not even fronting. I'm not one of these people that say, I don't trust OJ. No, I trust Obi. Giving him 30 minutes a game and watch this brother cook. That's the way I feel about it. So, with all of that, but then when you talk about Karl Anthony Towns, you're getting 23 and 11 right off the bat. Okay, so, and he's going to get the freedom to do what he did in Minnesota from the 5 spot. We just put Mitch Rob in the second unit. And Mitch Rob, they've asked him that before, how you feel about playing in the second unit? He said, I love playing in the second unit. He said that. So shoot, man, he got his $60 million guaranteed. He going to be on a team that's competing in the East, and he's running the second unit with Jay Hart, deucing them, and IQ in them. We could do this, y'all. We could do this, okay? So I like the Cat opportunity because of the numbers I just read to y'all, because of the situation. It works both for the Timberwolves and for the Knicks. And so, yes, I look at that. And just as a forward, going forward, y'all, when y'all want to suggest a trade idea, please have a reason why the other team would do it. Because most of y'all just throw names out there. I don't know why. But why would the other team do that? Like I said, Hachimura and Reeves and Vanderbilt. Why would LA give up? That's part of their core with LeBron and AD getting them to the Western Conference Finals. So why are they going to give that up? And they got them on cheap deals. See? So think about that when you get ready to say, well, let's look at this trade possibility. Okay, tell me why would the team do that? I could just told you why Minnesota would do it. Okay? I just told you why KP can leave Washington and why Grant can leave Portland without even a trade. I just told you why Toronto might want to blow it up. See? So when you're talking Phoenix and Devin Booker, why would Phoenix do that if he's under contract? Unless he requested, why would they do that? They wouldn't. Okay? They wouldn't. All right? So anyway, you all enjoy your Friday. Be safe out there. Have a great weekend. And for those that do, Shabbat Shalom. Shalom.